You know ID in the town all day. ID in the SEA. You know ID in the town all day. ID in the SEA.
Hello and welcome to episode 429 of the fabulous Peltoncast, sponsored by our friends at Pagliacci Pizza. I'm your co-host, Kevin Pelton.
And I'm Tristan Carcino.
And we are coming to you from back in
Hello!
Renton, Washington, home of the Super Bowl 48 champion Seattle Seahawks. I don't know what the last time was we recorded.
In Renton?
Both in Renton. We recorded in person.
I was going to say.
But not here.
That was actually my flu game. The one in Central Washington, because I was pretty tired.
Some of us actually got sick after the podcast.
Your literal flu game. But it's the Earl Thomas edition.
It is undoubtedly I think Chris Bosio wore 29 at one point during his Mariners career.
I thought he was 21. Am I wrong about that?
You're definitely wrong about that.
Okay, sounds good.
David Siggy. I don't know if they even overlapped.
I don't think so. Maybe a year.
But Earl Thomas is like so definitively the number 29 in Seattle sports history that it's not even worth discussing.
Well, it's not worth discussing other people.
I mean, I guess it's worth discussing. Why didn't you just go to Baseball Reference?
He was 29.
Okay. Yeah.
Chris Bosio.
I know my Chris Bosio. I know my 1993 Seattle Mariners numbers. Speaking of our friends at Pagliacci Pizza.
Yes.
It's pizza
Oh, yeah.
season. I don't know.
Whoa.
Someday we'll have to do a ranking of seasonals. I had this the other night. It's way high up there, the pizza.
So
it's definitely a top 3 seasonal.
Do they have
for
a
me.
seasonal? They have a once per month season, or two per month.
It's not exactly a month necessarily. I'm not sure what the schedule is.
We
but
should be
something like
going
that.
and getting every Pagliacci seasonal.
I mean, you know what I've proposed. Search for Seattle's best slice.
Search for Seattle's best Pagliacci slice.
Correct.
Okay, I actually have a bone to pick about this though,
Oh.
because I saw that it's pizza season,
Uh-huh.
and you know me, I'm getting Pagliacci a lot of the time, right? Anytime I go to West Seattle, anytime I go to Bellevue, anytime I'm in Renton, Washington, I can't have it, which I'm still upset about. That's a different bone to pick with Pagliacci, but they have 4 rotating slices at most Pagliacci locations.
Correct.
One of those 4 rotating slices should always be, in fact, maybe 2. I think what you should have is you should have a cheese, a pepperoni, and both seasonals as the slices. Because if you're me and you have children who will only eat double pepperoni, maybe something slightly different, but not varying too far from that, I can't get a whole pizza just to get the pizza. Does that make sense?
You could do it as a half, as I did when I got it.
Half pepperoni, half pizza?
Yes.
Not enough.
I understand.
It puts you into a predicament. And I have exactly the interest in having one slice. I mean, I personally would get a whole pizza, but like one slice would be amazing. And if they had their 2 seasonals, every single time I went to Pagliacci, I would do the full double pep and then each of the seasonals. Boom, done.
But sometimes, people
Okay,
are
one.
wanting
Can I get
slice.
one seasonal?
I think that's not an unreasonable request.
Okay. Occasional pizza as the slice?
Pizza is okay. They do rotate through.
Okay.
I don't know if it's like once a week or more often than that.
It should be pretty often because people want the pizza.
I agree that people want the pizza. There was a response when I posted that on Instagram.
It's excellent. And it's August.
It is August.
Okay,
It's
so how
peach
was it? You said it was high up there?
Yeah.
Did
it
you
was
do
even better than I remember?
What is the other seasonal right now?
I did not do it. I think it might be
the same thing happened to me with the Lil Woody's burger pizza. I wanted that one as well, but I couldn't
Did you see on Instagram the person who flew here specifically for the Lil Woody's
Really?
pizza?
They flew to Seattle for it?
I believe that was the case.
Look, you're either competing or you're not. And that person is competing. Is this a Peltoncast listener or just a person?
Just a person, as far as I know.
Well, that person shouts to them wherever they may be.
Oh,
Get on the Discord.
I didn't do it. I would do it. The other seasonal is the meatball primo.
Oh, it looks amazing.
Yeah. No. So yeah. I definitely am going to need to try that before this season goes out as well. But I'm going to want more of that pizza.
I can't wait.
But today's slice bar, for the record, not today's.
Exactly. This is what they had.
Recording.
And these are all excellent. I'm not saying
The Diavola and
Diavola
the
is
Tricolore.
phenomenal. That's the one with the hot honey on it. Incredible. The Tricolore, amazing. Also, of course, the flag.
Forza Italia.
Yeah.
Did you see that Italy had the most fourth place finishes in the Olympics?
I was going to say
Truly
that's
just
the most
almost
Peltoncast
right
thing
there.
ever. I feel like that's the most Seattle Mariners thing ever.
Oh no.
Right there. Right there.
There might be they are not currently in
They had the most, if only there was one more spot on the podium finishes.
they're not currently in fourth place in the AL wildcard standings. They're down to fifth.
Where did Italy rank medals wise? Because we do pretty well.
I think it was in the top 10, but not at the bottom of the top 10.
When you look at it population wise, Italy's kind of crushing in the Olympics.
Yeah, it's not bad. I was pleasantly surprised. I had forgotten entirely that the fastest man in the world in Tokyo was Italian.
Really?
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
He did not finish that high in this year's 100 meters. But everyone finished exactly the same. So he wasn't that far away from repeating, but he finished like 6th or 7th.
Okay. People just
but
got
the-
faster.
But the Italian sprinting was better than I expected. Way better than I expected.
That's kind of
I gotta
incredible.
say.
Yeah, I would not have guessed that sprinting was one of the sports.
It's not what I associate with Italy. But yeah, handball.
Oh, yeah.
Italy's apparently
It's
very
kind of
good
just everything, right?
Yeah. Just in
Italy's
the mix.
pretty good at a lot of sports.
Right. This is how you end up with the most fourth place finishes. I've lost internet at your house. Or am I back on?
And the podcast.
No. Okay, I'm back on now.
ESPN senior writer Kevin Pelton lost internet for a moment. This is like the go fuck yourself San Diego right now. You're just like, I don't know what to do anymore.
What do I do with my hands? Did you know that Rome was a nominee for the 2024 Olympics?
Really?
Yeah,
Fourth
bro.
place?
They were all tied for third. Rome, Hamburger, Germany, and Budapest withdrew.
That's fourth place right there. I guess Budapest might have been fourth overall if they withdrew first. But
Where is the medals table here? Do we have one? We must here. Okay, ninth Italy with ninth in terms of golds. Total medals.
third, right?
No.
Oh, damn.
No, that was sorted backwards. Seventh.
I'm decreeing that not bad.
I agree. Not bad at all. We'll take it.
Was the U.S. number one in both of those things?
U.S. tied with China for most golds. Needed that women's basketball victory in the final gold medal awarded at the Olympics to tie China. Far and away number one in terms of total medals.
All right.
All right. Well, we'll toast to those in a sec. Some of those medals in a second.
Will we?
Yeah,
Okay.
of course. But first off, we should remind everyone because we got to get going on this one.
Oh, fantasy
It
football?
is time to sign up for Peltoncast Fantasy Football 2024.
I was going to tell you. I actually forgot about that. I was going to tell you. I was like, oh, fuck.
So email us as always at
There's already
Peltoncast.
running backs that I wanted to draft getting injured.
Peltoncast@gmail.com to make sure you are part of the league. We'll send that out to everyone who was part last year. Mentioned on the Discord, of course, but we need to get going on picking some draft dates because the NFL season, it is a-coming. We also this week have an official Peltoncast correction. Because last week,
Oh.
we were talking about the best 90s jerseys to have.
Oh, I don't think this warrants a correction.
Oh, it
First
does.
off, you can't correct things in the post. I like that this is just official part of the podcast now. The only canon, Peltoncast canon, is until the very end of the episode. Until we say, thanks for listening, thanks. Boom. Episode ends.
So we can't hold us to anything we say after
Nothing.
that?
Nothing.
Oh, wow.
I will not be held accountable for
stricken from the
anything.
trans-
Anything that
It's
is
very
said.
funny because
Sometimes we do it early, and because there was a time that I think we talked about children's baseball last weekend. That was before. So all that stuff, that's on the record. Anything that happens after, that's bonus content.
We're rewatching Veep and starting from the first season. And Celia Meyer makes a comment after the interview, but it's recorded
Oh,
and she
I-
gets in trouble for it.
Yeah, yeah, I've seen
Danny Chung. Yes. So
No, that's like you've gotten to track 69 on the Tool album. You know what I mean? Like you sat through it, clicked through
that's still
13,
on the
14,
album.
15, 16,
It's
17,
on the
18, 19.
Wikipedia page,
right.
isn't it?
I don't know. It might just be listed as one long song back at the end.
anyways, we discussed the best 90s jerseys to have, or I guess not just 90s because Vince Carter was
No, it's just
barely
jerseys.
90s.
I don't want to put parameters around this. It's just the coolest jerseys you can have. And you know what? I stand by my perspective.
You stand that Allen Iverson is not part of that group, even though you literally owned an Allen Iverson jersey
I'm
that
not
your
saying-
youngest son now wears.
The ones that I had, I stand by the Mount Rushmore that I had. I don't think AI bumps any of those off.
I forgot Allen Iverson.
Partially, the jersey isn't. It's not quite good enough. Between the red one and the black one, neither of them are quite good enough.
You know,
AI also might be in the territory of.
the Pelton brother Noah was dismissive of the black one on Discord. I saw one in the wild at Outside Lands last weekend. It looked pretty cool.
There are other jerseys that could have been in the conversation, right? The Kobe Bryant 8 jersey could have been in the conversation. There's more.
Too mainstream.
Any of the Dream Team ones, I think Dream Team ones are pretty good.
Fair.
But there's not quite. There's like fun ones like Christian Laettner Dream Team, right? But not cool enough. And I personally, I don't remember exactly what I said. No, it was Barkley Suns.
Well, it wasn't on the record, so you don't have to remember it.
Yeah. Barkley Suns, Kemp, Vince Carter. What was the other one that I said? I stand by this wholeheartedly. Oh, Penny.
Yeah,
Penny
Penny.
Hardaway. That's it. Because the thing is,
I would bump out Vince
Allen
Carter because
Iverson-
it's a different era.
It's not about the era. It's about what the coolest ones are.
It is to me about the
Carter,
era.
I agree that I think Allen Iverson was unequivocally the coolest basketball player on the face of the earth in like 1997. But there's something about the slice of time for Vince Carter that he had in that moment. And just also, they were dope jerseys, the Raptors ones.
I don't think I like the Raptors jerseys as much as you do. I could give you a million guesses as to the first jersey I saw at Outside Lands, which was a contemporary, not a retro jersey. You would never get it. It was Cam Thomas of the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, I probably wasn't getting that one.
Never getting that one.
Fair enough. I was going to go with Austin Reeves.
No, that was way too mainstream for me to be that surprised.
Just being
by
at
it.
an indie rock festival, you know what I mean?
Right.
I wore at the Capitol Block party when Chapel Roan was playing. I wore massive line of people, right? There are thousands of people in line before doors open. And
All wearing pink.
I wore the Kobe Bryant jersey, just the jersey, right? Nothing under it, shoulders out. And the amount of high fives from bros that I got along the way, these were not Chaperone fans, to be clear. These are the people who are there for everything else, the like 1% of the population.
Wow.
But walking in,
I rule out the possibility of crossover Chapel Roan bros.
these were not. These were bros. These were probably more about still woozy the next day. But I got a lot of all positive, but people being excited about the Kobe jersey because the thing is, we're old.
It is true.
And to those people, the Kobe Bryant 24 jersey is the same as a Sean Kemp, a Charles Barkley, a Vince Carter to us.
All right, well, let's get into the toast. Congrats to Jewel Lloyd on winning gold, Gabby Williams on silver, and Ezi Megbagor, Sammy Whitcomb, and Lauren Jackson all bronze in women's basketball at the Olympics. It's the second gold medal for Lloyd, who averaged 3.2 points, 2.2 rebounds, and 1.6 assists for the USA. Ezi Megbagor had 30 points, 13 rebounds with 3 blocks as Australia defeated Belgium for bronze after losing to the USA in the semifinals, with Lauren Jackson seeing about 5 minutes of action off the bench in that one. She did not play in the bronze medal game. It was her only appearance in the medal rounds, but still the 5th medal for Lauren Jackson, 3 silvers, 2 bronze. Australia had not medaled since the last time that Lauren Jackson played for them in the Olympics.
Really?
In 2012.
They need LJ.
Yeah, gotta have LJ.
It was so funny. So Jan watched most of this game, talked about how great it was. And her review after, she was furious about this, right? Jan was like, all these old players get all this credit for what they paved the way for in women's basketball. And she was like, Lauren Jackson never comes up. And I was like, I'm pretty sure she does, Jan. I was like, I feel like it's been a story that's been happening. But Jan was furious about this idea that she doesn't feel like Lauren Jackson's been given the credit as a pioneer in women's basketball.
And during the Olympics, it has, because of the fact that she's out there at age 43 as the oldest player in the Olympics. In general, I do think she's somewhat forgotten in WNBA lore.
Well, it's kind of funny that she's still playing because she retired relatively early
Yes,
from the WNBA. That's probably the reason.
During a couple of trips, including this one this past weekend, I finished Lauren Jackson's autobiography that she wrote about 8 years ago, I think 7 or 8 years. And it's very amusing to hear her talking about the end of her playing career when she subsequently has returned and played in another Olympics. It's pretty amazing.
I think the thing that Janice is getting also is that bigs just they never age in the same way.
Like they don't have the same longevity. I mean, Lisa Leslie.
But also is
probably,
coolness. Like that's just the reality.
Yeah, that's not unfair.
Small players are cooler longer. That's how it goes. Because you know what? We're all short.
It is true.
We all play like guards.
Shouts to Steph Curry. Not all of us play like guards though. Some of us play like non-shooting power forwards.
Have the height of guards, but play like non-shooting power forwards.
Gabby Williams was named to the first team All-Olympics and best defensive player of the tournament, while Ezzy Megbagor made the second team. We'll have a little more on Gabby Williams coming up in our Storm section later in the pod. Congrats also to Kelsey Plum, part of the USA's gold medal team.
Hello.
Per Jeff Beckhold of UW Athletics, the medals for Plum and Whitcomb, along with the 11 in rowing, gave UW alums a record 13 medals.
There it is.
In the 2024 Olympics. Do we need to look up where UW would rank among countries? Conveniently, we have this. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Tied for 16th with Uzbekistan with 13 medals.
Yeah, Uzbekistan.
That's more than Sweden, Belgium, Denmark, Norway. It was a really tough. I guess the Nordic countries don't really specialize in the Summer Olympics. They're more Winter Olympics.
Look, we're from Seattle, and this is the Summer Olympics.
Beat Croatia, beat Jamaica, which did not have a particularly strong running Olympics. Beat
They're saving
Serbia,
it for the bobsled team, of course.
the Czech Republic, Mexico.
You're just rubbing it in at this point. Or maybe just naming countries.
I mean, it's most of the countries. You know, the vast majority of the countries.
There are
in
a
the
lot
world.
of countries. I would say that most of the countries got 0 medals.
Let's see. How many nations actually participated? 84 won medal, or 91 won medals, I guess it is, out of the 204 that participated. So, yes. All right, congrats to Puyallup Little League, which rallied down to their final strike in the Northwest Region title game in the 6th inning last Thursday to score 8 runs.
Hello.
And win 13-7 over Eagle, Idaho. Puyallup will now represent the Northwest in the Little League World Series starting Friday in Williamsport.
I got to see if I know any of these kids. I have to ask
You've played
Luca.
against them.
I mean, there's a legit chance that
It's very plausible.
Puyallup is where a lot of the best baseball players are around here.
And Luca is precisely the age of Little League World Series now, right?
Puyallup Little League roster. I haven't heard that I do, so I'm guessing I don't, but that's pretty interesting.
And congrats to Everett's Grady Sizemore, who was named interim manager of the White Sox, coming off their recent 21-game losing streak. So it's only up from here for Grady Sizemore. Congrats to the Seattle Cascades, who went on the road to defeat the Salt Lake Shred 21-20 in the UFA West Division Final in Ultimate Frisbee. The Cascades will now face the Carolina Flyers, winners of the South Division, on August 23rd in Salt Lake City as the semifinals during UFA Championship Weekend. And thanks to Griffin Pulliam in the Discord for bringing that one to our attention. Lastly, this week, we are remembering a pair of Seattle icons who passed away.
I think these kids are a little bit older.
Okay.
So I probably wouldn't. I think they're like a year or two older.
They're like U13 instead of U12?
We say the U after in baseball.
Well, yeah. Okay, I'm doing it soccer style, I know. Lastly, this week, we're remembering a pair of Seattle icons. Charles Cross, the longtime editor of The Rocket and author of 9 books, including biographies of Kurt Cobain and Jimi Hendrix, who passed away at age 67 on Sunday. And Chef Tamara Murphy, who died Saturday at age 63. Murphy opened Brasa, which closed in 2010 in Terra Plata, and was honored with a Beard Foundation Award in 1995 in her role as executive chef at Cafe Campania near Pike Place Market. So certainly a pair of Seattle legends.
I'm calling in a special guest if Kayleen will come here.
To talk about the Puyallup Little League?
Yeah, to tell us about the Little League World Series, because these are things that she understands that I don't understand.
Okay. Well, we'll come back to that one. Next up, though, our search for Seattle's best cookie this week. We tried so hard to go to Ben's Bread.
Oh,
I was there. I pulled up.
we're not writing off Ben's Bread
Oh,
because
no,
of this.
no, of
Okay,
course not.
good.
No.
There's some where I'm just like, you know what, dog, you weren't open the time we tried to go there. Sorry, but I do not. I think Ben is a legit enough contender. We're letting Ben off the hook this time.
I agree. They were randomly closed Tuesday and Wednesday. I pulled up, saw that they were closed. Having not seen that when I was looking for it on Google, but Instagram revealed that they were closed. So instead, this morning I was in Columbia City and dropped by Columbia City Bakery. I was able to try. We got a couple of cookies. Let me double check the names here. Do we have the special guest, third Pelton brother, Mrs. Fantasy Genius?
Yeah, we're here to talk to you about the Little League World Series.
Does she not know that?
Do you know anything about this?
But the Southwell team?
Yeah, wait, come here. You have to talk into the microphone. Don't be like Katie. Okay, so do we know what age are the kids who are playing in the Little League World Series?
12U, some 13U.
Okay, so they're a little bit older than Luca plays. Do we know any of the kids who are on that team?
Luca does. Through Instagram and chattering with them at various tournaments. They're all new level kids.
Okay, but they're the older new level kids.
Yeah, 1 year and then 2 years older.
Okay, so there's no names that I would know.
Nope.
Okay. So next year, though, if a Puyallup team were to go, we'd probably know some of those kids.
Yeah, or Kirkland. Sometimes they make it too.
They were playing against, it was Idaho that they had to beat. So they were the Washington State champions.
Yeah. Yes, last year it was a Kirkland team that was the Washington State champions.
And they went really far last year.
Yeah,
And Kirkland was the one that won the Little League World Series in like 1980.
back in the day.
Yeah,
Yes.
something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm fascinated to know if we know some of these kids.
I assure you we don't.
No, not this round, but
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it'll be the Audette kids.
We've come a long way from when I remember first watching the Little League World Series when I was the same age as the players in like 1994, and now it's Luca who's the same age as the players.
Fair enough, yes. And
Which, to
however,
reiterate,
he does not play Little League, so his dreams are crushed.
yeah. But to reiterate what Tristan said
can you
earlier,
imagine
we're
him?
old.
His dreams are not crushed.
You know they pitch from 46 feet. He would kill someone.
Well, a lot of those kids would. Imagine Kellen pitching from 46 feet.
Yeah, it's wild. It seems unsafe to me.
No, a lot of kids would just blow past hitters at that short of a distance. But can I just note that Luca's dream would definitely not to be play baseball on TV?
Oh, he'd shit his pants. He would get up there and shit his pants. It'd be over. He'd crumple into a ball, face first, on the first baseline, just down.
At Allstate, he said he was nervous because his own coach was watching him play.
Yes. Yeah. No,
And
that,
I was like, Luca, he's seen you play every inning of baseball you've played over the last 2 years. How could you be nervous about this?
yeah. I don't think it'd go well. Did you describe the photo we have of Luca laying on the first baseline?
No, that wasn't from nervousness. That was just making an error. He holds himself to high standards. Look, there's some Mariners who maybe should have held themselves laid on the ground on the first baseline.
Oh dear.
No comment.
Mrs. Fantasy Genius has chosen not to comment on that.
Okay, well, we'll have you back on next year to tell us about the Little League World Series.
I'll be here.
She'll be upstairs. Okay, so Columbia City Bakery. I picked up a Columbia chip cookie, which you were unable to have because it contains toasted walnuts in addition to semi-sweet chocolate chips and toffee bits. And then I brought for you and had a bite of the oatmeal chocolate chip date cookie, which has semi-sweet, chewy dates and a hint of spice. Sadly, I did not see when I was in there the super chip, which is a more traditional chocolate chip cookie that you also could have had.
Super chip.
So one of my big takeaways having these cookies was I feel like there's a lot of places, particularly bakeries, that go to like so much effort to like craft the right ingredients and the blend of those in a cookie. And one of the things I've determined over the course of this search is all you really need is chocolate chips, dough, maybe a little sea salt. what matters about the cookie is not the ingredients. It's like the texture and how it's baked.
I think that's a big part of it. I don't know if it's the ingredients. I don't know if I can agree with that, right? Because to me, Hello Robin, right? Hello Robin Phenomenal Cookies, the butter is a part of it and how
Sure,
rich it is.
But that's the dough. That's what I'm saying. It's not like what you're putting in the dough.
Like you had the most miraculous chocolate chips of all time or whatever.
Or like, the right ratio of walnuts to which
I think those things can matter. And I do think those things do matter. Bakery cookies, and I actually thought these were good.
Yeah,
this is not a criticism of it. It tasted like a bakery cookie. And there's certain tiers of cookies. You know what a grocery store cookie tastes like. You know what a packaged cookie tastes like. You know what a bakery cookie tastes like. And a lot of times you know what a cookie company cookie tastes like, right? In the Crumbles and the Craves and places like that.
Yep.
You know what those types of cookies taste like. What we're looking for are the cookies that stand out from those different places, right?
That's a great way to put it.
And I think to me, this was a very good bakery cookie.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, it probably wasn't Seattle's best cookie, but did I enjoy eating it? Of course I enjoyed eating it.
Yeah.
It was excellent.
It's a definite one star.
It was very good.
Or one Peltoncast P, I should say.
And there's so much more at Columbia City Bakery. It's just, they're doing a whole breadth of things. More realistically, somebody that is a little bit more focused on cookies themselves is probably going to be better at making cookies, because the focus at Columbia City Bakery is not just on cookies. It's on so many different things. And that's what I love about it. And I love bakeries and I love bread of all kinds.
Especially wet bread. Art, I wanted to quickly throw in two Seattle food updates this week. First off, Little Woody's is doing their seafood month this week, which is not typically my favorite month of specials.
I gotta say, they looked pretty good.
But this week I did have the coast style from Jeremy Thunderbird of Native Soul Cuisine, a smoked salmon patty.
Oh yeah.
Sharp white cheddar.
Oh yes.
Arugula.
Hello.
Barbecue berry sauce.
Oh, I don't even know what that means.
Well, it's like a more traditional sauce, but it's got a bit of a barbecue kick to it.
Okay.
With like probably cranberries and things of that nature. This was outstanding. Highly recommended. Smoked salmon is not necessarily my favorite way to have salmon, but it wasn't a huge smoke flavor on this, so it was quite good.
First off, what? You don't like smoked salmon?
It's not my favorite preparation of salmon.
I'm going to be bold here. This looks incredible.
Yeah.
I'm pretty high. I wish there was a Little Woody's. Put a Little Woody's in Renton, people. Come on. Why is everybody scared of Renton, Washington? I would be there right now. I wouldn't be recording this podcast if there was a Little Woody's.
You would be closed. It's 11 p.m. What you need to do is coming soon.
The airport?
Still not there. Take a flight. We saw it in the North Terminal last week when we were there.
Wait, so what terminal is it going to be in? Which gates?
Just said the North Terminal.
What is the North Terminal? What the fuck does that mean?
It's a satellite.
The end gates?
Yeah.
You call it the North Terminal?
Yeah.
Nobody calls it that.
That's what it's called, friend.
No, nobody. You call it the end gates.
Okay. It's at the end gates.
Jesus
If
Christ.
you must.
Okay, I actually like that though for Little Woody's. I think it makes sense there, right? The Beechers is over there. The end gates feels a little bit more northwest to me.
Oh, 100%.
It's where the Skillet is, the Beechers. Is there still another Beechers in the other?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
don't think
there's
the
two.
Beechers and the Sea Gates went away.
But the end gates is for us, right? That's for Seattleites. That's where we fly into, we fly
I mean,
out
it's
of.
exclusively Alaska.
Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
that might be why.
Yeah. So it checks out.
For people, I have a United flight booked because I'm going from
What?
New York to Cleveland. Let me just tell you, Alaska, not a lot of flights from New York to Cleveland.
Well, okay,
And-
that's fair.
Yeah, so I'm going from New York to Cleveland, and I had to book a flight on another airline, and I'm like a fucking animal trying to book it. And I'm like, you have to pay for your seat. Like, I just being like this. I hate everything about this experience.
Shouts to Alaska, I suppose. As long as they get their deal done with their flight attendants after they rejected the deal
Oh, God.
on Tuesday.
Maybe that's why they're offering me $25. Wait, has that not come
That's
in the
not come on.
podcast? Okay.
I guess technically it is on here as the N concourse, not the North Terminal. So
Hello.
you
Thank
take
you.
this route.
Issue a correction.
Official Peltoncast.
There we go. That's only from you. That's an ESPN senior writer Kevin Pelton correction.
The other food.
I like the idea before was like it was not a there was no mistake made. You can't
That's
issue
part of the joke.
Okay, fine.
You got it. You didn't get it apparently.
You didn't present it like a joke.
When I say it that seriously, you should assume that it's an official Peltoncast correction about jerseys.
Why?
You can assume that it's a joke.
All right, fine.
All right, also on the food front, I wanted to mention. So, are you familiar with Hainanese chicken rice?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so Nong's Khao Man Gai in Portland, a fixture, once strictly a food cart, now has a couple of physical locations in Portland. This is one of the places I eat most frequently in Portland. Serves this, and it's like the simplest dish possible. It's just like boiled chicken, rice. Traditionally comes with soup on the side, and then served with an incredible sauce. Seattle for a long period of time did not have a strong Hainanese Hainan chicken rice tradition. But lately, all sorts of places have
Really?
been popping up. There's one in the Asian food hall near Westlake that I tried. It was kind of mid, if we're being honest. But the one that has popped up lately, there's a couple others I haven't tried yet, but the one that has popped up that is the most hyped is ginger and scallion. And this is from the same people as, what's the name of the kanji place? Secret Kanji, I believe it's called. A lot of mainstream attention. I tried it for the first time last week and wanted to give a quick review in case anyone was curious. So I would say the chicken is not as good as Nong's, because what makes Nong's so amazing is how perfectly the chicken is cooked every single time, despite how simple it is. I would say it wasn't quite to that standard, and the soup I found not as good as Nong's either. But the rice was better than Nong's, in my opinion. It was
Really?
truly outstanding, which in some ways, like Hainanese chicken rice is more about the rice than it is the chicken, because the rice is cooked in the chicken fat, as I understand
Oh
it.
yeah.
And then also, so Nong's, they just give you the Nong sauce, which I don't know the traditional Hainanese chicken rice. I assume that's what it is. And I have a bottle of that in my refrigerator. Used it earlier today. It's outstanding. They have a version of that at Ginger and Scallion, but they also have other different. They bring you like a boat of 4 different sauces to be able to put on there. And that's everything I want in a meal.
Oh, absolutely.
And like they have the Ginger and Scallion sauce itself was quite good. I thought their version of the sauce was nearly as good as Nong's. So definitely worth a visit if you're someone who, like me, really enjoys Nong's and is hoping to replicate that experience here in the Seattle. They also have a more diverse menu. You know, I wanted to kind of go very basic to give it a first try, to give it that head-to-head comparison with Nong's, but they have a lot of other things on the menu, other styles of chicken. They have duck, so definitely going to be back there. That's in sort of East Ballard, verging on Finney Ridge, Ginger and Scallion.
All right. I want to be familiar with Hainanese chicken rice.
Yeah.
Sounds amazing.
You should definitely check it out. There's also a spot in the International District I hope to try before too long here. We'll have a
What is your review of the cucumbers? Did not eat.
I did not. was invited to eat. They were at the table. I was invited to eat them. I respectfully declined. Politely declined.
Invited by the cucumbers themselves.
No, not by the cucumbers. They
no,
probably wish not to be eaten.
This looks amazing.
Does it? Because it actually looks very bland.
Oh no, I fuck with all this stuff.
I mean, I'm not saying I don't.
Chicken with sauce, rice, and cucumbers.
But the chicken itself, like you look at it and you're like, this doesn't look like it's going to have any taste at all. And it sort of doesn't, but the sauce is so amazing that it's like a very simple preparation.
I mean,
but
that's
outstanding.
A lot of
well
times
done.
what chicken is it's a vessel for something else.
Of course.
All right.
All right, a quick NBA update. The Blazers officially announced their departure from Root Sports on Tuesday. No surprise, as we talked about when the Kraken made their move to King and Kong and going back over the air this season. Blazers have not yet announced their local TV partner, but expect it to be sort of a similar model to that.
Do you think they'll be available in Seattle, or we won't really know?
I would say at this point, the odds are against them being available in Seattle, although we'll see what happens in terms of streaming. So in which case they would revert back to League Pass for those of us who have them. Like it used to be the case when the Blazers were on, I don't know, what were they on? I think this was before NBC Sports Northwest, but there was a period of time where some of their games were on cable, and then some of them were still on local TV, and the local TV games were on League Pass, but the other ones weren't.
I think that the demand for the Blazers in Seattle was probably not very high last year.
I suspect so. The demand for the Blazers in Portland may not have been very high last year. I saw this in Sean Hyken's piece about this on his Substack, that the local ratings were down 49% after the Comcast moved to the premium tier, and then obviously with the team not having Damian Lillard anymore.
Yeah, it just wasn't interesting basketball to watch overall. I mean, it's been a kind of rough 2 seasons, but there's also
but it's going to be another rough season.
I think that as the Sonics get closer, the Blazers moving from team that people from Seattle had adopted. I don't even know how many other people there were, but to me, I'm way more of a Lakers fan right now than I am a Blazers fan.
Certainly a lot did during their series against Oklahoma City in 2019.
Exactly. But that's the good thing about it, is you can kind of dip in and dip out. In Blazersdom, they're still the team that I'm most likely to go see in person. But as a team is closer to coming back to Seattle, it's probably less important for the Blazers to saturate the Seattle market as well.
100%.
And I do think that's something that they'd considered maybe like 5-10 years ago. And now everybody involved, Blazers included, see the writing on the wall. And it's like, they're just not going to be a factor in the Seattle market anymore.
Correct. With that, it is time for your favorite segment.
Don't burn yourself. We got Mariners hot takes coming at ya.
The Mariners had just added an insurance run in the top of the 8th today as I turned off the car for Mateo's baseball practice. The Rays had just tied the Astros in Tampa as well. I got out and didn't think about professional baseball again for the next 30 minutes until I felt a buzz in my pocket. I pulled out my phone and looked at the notification. Do you want to know what it said? It said, "It's fucking over."
Oh, no.
As of August 15th, the Mariners' 2024 season is finished. Playoff teams don't lose 4 out of 5 to the Detroit Tigers, and probably should have lost 5 out of 5 at home and on the road. Ironically, if they were at a 54% winning percentage, they'd be in a solid place, but I can't even really blame anyone for this. The front office tried, probably too little too late. All of the players are hustling and working their hardest. There isn't one realistic offseason signing that would have made a difference. They just aren't good enough. And you know what? They probably won't be good enough again next year or the year after that. This is it. This is the best we're going to get with this ownership group in Seattle, Washington. We're going to get just good enough to be in the race in mid-August, but definitely not a big enough market to warrant Shohei or Soto, and not bad enough to build up the farm system with high-end talent. It was a funny notification, but this is it, motherfuckers. We've got a whole long prime of 52% miserable baseball for the next decade or so, if we're lucky. But why should it be any different? For the only franchise that has never made a World Series, hanging around in August is all we should expect.
I like that a week ago you were, what was the term? Convinced that the Mariners were going to make the playoffs?
Shit changes. First off, the Astros have not lost.
They have won 8 in a row. The Mariners in the interim did sweep the New York Mets.
That happened.
If they could just avoid playing their nemesis, the Detroit Tigers, the unbeatable Detroit. I actually had this similar experience as you. I was not monitoring the Astros score, but saw the Julio hit to make it 2-0, and then had some errands to run, and was like, well, they'll probably add another run here. They've got the bases loaded with one out. They're deep into the Detroit bullpen. And then came back, and it was 2-2 in the top of the ninth and the bottom of the eighth, I think, at that point. And then followed it through to its all too predictable conclusion in the 10th inning. So...
there's a reality.
The Mariners' playoff odds, by the way, are almost the same as they were a week ago when we recorded. They're down a little bit.
Bad? Yeah, but the thing is, they swept the Mets in the interim.
Right.
That's why that's not a positive, because it still took a Mets sweep to be back to, what is it, 40%?
I don't know if I understand that math.
It took something that is so incredibly unlikely to happen
But
to get them back to the same place that they were.
So this is the nature of, as we talked about it last week, a team around 500 is when they're playing well, they're probably lucky. When they're playing poorly, they're probably unlucky. And you add it out, and they're probably about even Steven.
What are the playoff odds sitting at?
About 39%.
Okay, 40% basically.
Yeah.
Right now.
Which now is a higher proportion of that is a wild card spot relative to where, certainly a couple
the
weeks
Astros
ago.
are running away with the division.
Running away is strong, but the Astros are now, far better than 50% to make the playoffs.
But I really was just thinking about it, and I was like, is there high-end talent? Like, when we look at these players, the untouchable prospects for the Mariners,
I mean,
they're probably role players.
It's supposed to be Julio Rodriguez. That's supposed to be the high-end talent. That's the idea.
And
The
I
whole
understand.
team was built around that.
But I understand that Julio is now injured or whatever. That was another piece of it where it was like getting re-injured before that hit and then having Canzone pinch run from. But like the best case,
He will continue playing according to Scott Service.
it seems like he's fine. But like the best case scenario for the Mariners over the next 5 years is what? Is there any reasonable chance for the Mariners to acquire players? Like the best case scenario is they get enough good role players and Julio takes another step or somebody. But like most of the players on the roster just are not capable of that. There's almost no scenario that anybody else becomes that good, right? Like most players cap out at maybe all-star and a lot way worse than that. They do not have the players in the organization to be a team that is going to compete for a World Series. It does not exist. And they also don't have the players in the organization to go and get a player that could be that type of player. It is literally impossible for the Mariners to compete for a World Series outside of they make the playoffs, they sneak into the playoffs,
But that
and then
is
anything
what
happens.
competing for the World Series is, because that's how baseball works.
Maybe, but you also need to be good enough to make the playoffs
I agree with
consistently.
that.
You can't be like, well, we made it one time. And I understand
That's what
that
the
happens.
54% is about making the playoffs consistently. In one of those years, you're going to make a run. And that's why the fact that they're falling short of 54% is a concern. But I don't think it's like the franchise is cooked for the next 10 years, because they
are cooked for the next 10
They
years.
do have
though.
enough prospects to make a trade for an impact bat
I
if they choose to do it.
I don't know who that would be,
I
and
don't
I
think
don't know if they do.
I mean, they do.
So I was looking back at the 2019 Washington Nationals because I was looking at Victor Robles and how many years he'd been in the league. He had a great season, by the way. And you look back at that roster and you're like, damn, this roster was kind of incredible, right? And it's funny how quickly it was that 2019 Nationals team. And it was pretty much from that point forward, every single player on the roster fell off a cliff, aside from Soto. And then Trey Turner. But like they were either gone from the Nationals pretty shortly thereafter or their careers more or less ended, right? And Rendon was a superstar at the time. Juan Soto was basically the youngest superstar in almost baseball history at the time, like up there. They had Strasburg in his prime. They had Max Scherzer. Like they had better pitchers than the Mariners have right now. And that team snuck into the playoffs and won a World Series. There is a difference between having extraordinarily high-end talent. They had Trey Turner. Like that roster top to bottom was so much better than this current Mariners roster is. When we're like, oh, with this pitching, like the Mariners could do anything in the playoffs. It's not that good, guy. Like the Mariners have very strong, like there was somebody talking about like George Kirby being in the conversation for Cy Young. And I'm like, in what world are we talking
And that
about?
somebody was the Seattle Times, of course.
How many pitchers who have a losing record and not that good of stats are in the conversation for Cy Young?
He actually did have very good advanced stats prior to Tuesday night in Detroit.
Logan Gilbert has the best advanced stats of any pitcher on the team.
I don't know that I agree with that assessment.
The Mariners have 5 pretty good starters, but they don't have any elite pitching. The Mariners do not have a pitcher that you can say, if there is one game, we can go to this guy and he can win that game.
Again, I don't think anyone has that player because
The Detroit Tigers have that
doesn't
player.
exist. Well, if they're playing against the Mariners.
No, Skubal is like one of the best pitchers I've ever seen. Watching him yesterday and watching it closely, I was like, this is incredible watching him pitch.
Gilbert is far ahead in Baseball Reference WAR, but he must not be in Fangraphs WAR.
But if you were like, if there's one pitcher to win one game, I would still probably say Castillo. And that's a good thing having Castillo and Gilbert and Kirby. But they should trade these players right now.
I mean, I'm the one who advocated for this. Yeah, it's an interesting difference between Baseball Reference's flavor of war and Fangraphs.
You're arguing about trading Luis Castillo, who doesn't have that high value. They should be trading Kirby and Gilbert right now. With this roster,
they actually should not be. It's after the trade deadline.
I think this offseason they have to make a trade for one of these pitchers. They literally need to do something to try to find high-end hitting talent. And yes, great, they signed Victor Robles to an extension, but that is not. Victor Robles is going to reach the mean of his career. That's how things work. There's going to be regression from where he's at right now. And the Mariners do not, if Julio's not going to be high-end talent, the Mariners do not have high-end hitting talent.
Well, yeah, if Julio's not an MVP candidate, the whole thing doesn't work. That's the premise.
I don't understand. So last year, he finished in the top 5 in MVP voting. Are you sure that happened?
I don't remember exactly what happened, but because who cares about MVP voting besides the winner? Who cares even? I don't even know who won AL MVP last year. I don't even really care about that.
He was 7th 2 years ago and 4th last year. Okay, I don't know if you're going to have heard of the person who won MVP last year. But you know how Leo Rivas pitched the 9th inning?
I do.
So it's somebody who hits and pitches.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm familiar with his work.
Similar to that.
I'm familiar with his work. As it turns out,
his numbers a lot worse than Rivas, though, if we're being honest.
Having high-end talent is not a guarantee of making the playoffs.
You have to have both. You have to have both. It was also kind of crazy seeing that the Angels signed. So they signed Rendon after that 2019 season. If Rendon had been what he was with Washington, and I feel like this is kind of Angels fans are probably keenly aware of this information, but just how good he was with the Nationals in that season and having Shohei Rendon and Mike Trout. But then, his career basically ended at that point.
Wow. It's almost like free agency.
No, I'm not saying that the Mariners should be going and signing free agents, but when you do look at some of the best players in the league, they're mostly players that are found from the draft. And the Mariners they've drafted fine, but they don't have a Bobby Witt, right? They don't have a Gunnar Henderson. Julio is not as good as those players.
But he was as good as Bobby Witt last season. They were neck and neck last season.
He's probably better than Bobby Witt. But you know what? Another season happened. And right now, there's no conversation in the world where you would say that their potential is even really similar.
How old is Bobby Witt? Is he the same age?
He is 24.
He's 6 months older, so not substantially older now.
Does Julio have a 1,000 OPS this year?
He does not, as a matter of fact. Does not have a 347 batting average.
Anyway, I hate this team. Hate them. That's the thing that we've talked about this. There's the fucking, we don't want to give him credit or whatever. What's the dude's name?
I don't know.
Godfather of baseball stats.
Bill James?
Bill James. Yeah, there's this Bill James tweet, right? About how a 500 team will be the most frustrating. Wasn't that Bill James? About how a good team, they're good.
Yeah, it sounds like Bill James, yeah.
A good team, they're good and you're not nervous about one loss. A bad team, they're bad and you're not nervous about one loss. And a 500 team, you will live and die with each loss. But guess what? It's August and we are dying.
Somebody help me. My family is dying. Victor Robles, you mentioned the extension, 2 years, $9.75 million guaranteed plus $2 million incentives. It'd be $500K apiece for reaching 500 and then 600 plate appearances during 2025 and 2026. And then a $9 million team option for 2027. It's very fascinating to me that baseball contracts aren't announced as including the team option as they are in basketball. And if they existed, presumably would be in football, where all of the contracts values are fake. I enjoyed this from Victor Robles, who said, in explaining his decision to sign the extension now, from the first day I came in here, I felt the vibes.
There we go.
So someone is feeling the vibes. It's nice to know. He did say that, I believe, after Sunday's game, the shellacking of the Mets on Sunday Night Baseball, rather than after Tuesday.
The vibes were feeling good at the time.
When Leo Rivas, had that terrific appearance, but was not used in a high leverage situation.
Matt Chapman. I mean, the thing is, you can't pick and choose free agents, right? And he is 31, so who knows what it'll be next year. But just looking at the top 10 in WAR, he was one of those free agents we talked about who signed a deal a little bit later on in the process, right? Mariners seem to be in conversation about, and now he's in the top 10 in WAR in the league.
How serious they were in that conversation, I am pretty skeptical given their subsequent budget. Although they sure did add a few million at the trade deadline.
I didn't realize Hunter Green was pitching so well this year. Good for him.
All right, let's get into the roundup. Seattle Sounders advancing in the League's Cup twice since we've last talked. When we last talked, they were coming off a loss, you'll recall, to Necaxa in their last group stage game of the League's Cup. Still managed to host the LA Galaxy and beat them 3-1 Thursday. Both Sounders center backs scored in the first 7 minutes of that one, followed by another defender goal from Alex Roldan in first half stoppage time. The Galaxy did claw one back in the 83rd, but were never in it, managing just a one shot on goal to 11 for the Sounders, who had a massive 3.7 XG in that one. Then Monday, they took on Pumas, who have really struggled at Lumen Field. The Sounders opened the scoring through Paul Rothrock in the 32nd minute, not long after a Pumas goal was overturned by VAR for offside. It was still anybody's game before Jordan Morris scored in the 58th minute, and then Albert Rushnak scored from the spot in the 71st. The Sounders then added a fourth in stoppage time, this one from Morris on a PK after Rushnak subbed out. Sounders outperformed their 2.3 XG, but limited Pumas just 0.8. So the Sounders advance to the League's Cup quarterfinals, where they will take on a familiar opponent, LAFC. They hosted LAFC in last year's MLS Cup playoffs when they lost. They hosted them in MLS regular season play on July 20th, and will host them, another loss, and will host them for a third time in 5+ weeks in the U.S. Open Cup at Starfire on August 28th. One of these teams at that point will be coming off having played 2 additional games. The winner of this has to play both the semifinal, and even if they lose that, the third place game right before the U.S. Open Cup. So it's kind of like it's going to be one or the other, it seems like, for these teams. One of them probably is going to advance in the League's Cup, and the other will advance in the U.S. Open Cup.
Which one do we care about more?
I mean, the U.S. Open Cup certainly has more tradition. I don't know. I don't know what the case is for the League's Cup, I guess, over the U.S. Open Cup, except that you're facing more legitimate opposition, I suppose, to get there. The winner will face in the semifinals the winner of Club America and Colorado Rapids. The Sounders would host if the Rapids pull the upset, or play somewhere in California if Club America wins. They're getting to play semi-host to all their matches in California as the reigning Liga MX champions.
I was wondering if there were any Mariners in the top 10 in any basically offensive category.
Strikeouts.
Not strikeouts.
Oh.
Yeah. You wouldn't believe it. I was scrolling for a long time, and we got to, I mean, a lot of these didn't happen in Seattle. Double plays grounded into Justin Turner.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
Caught stealing Randy Arozarena. And the first one I found, hit by pitch.
Oh, Ty France?
No, not Ty France. Luke Raley.
No, really? I didn't realize that Luke Raley
They actually have, I mean, there's a bunch of players tied for number 10, but hit by pitch, they have Raley, Arozarena, and Ty France.
There you go.
So, the Mariners, they're present. Definitely present.
You know who loves it?
Who loves it?
UW's new baseball coach.
Oh, yeah. Build the whole offense out of getting hit by a pitch.
Get on base any way you can.
I had a whole diatribe about this to Luca this weekend, about how annoyed I was when people, this is like a number one, like annoying dad thing to say, where it's like, step into it, wear that one, right? And annoying like little, like, and it's like, if we're being honest with ourselves.
Some of us practiced what we preach.
How did Julio, when he sprained his ankle, was that from getting hit by a pitch?
No, it was playing the outfield.
That was a different thing when he hurt it. Yeah. Players get injured from getting hit by pitches. Like, the value that is gained by getting hit by a pitch probably doesn't outweigh the value that could be lost by injury. Like, if you get hit in the hands or something like that.
Yeah, but no one is saying step into it to like put your hands into it. What they mean is to like turn your back and take it.
It is a lot easier said than done.
But I'm saying if you get hit in the hand, it's probably not because you were trying to get hit in the hand. It's probably because the pitch came out of nowhere.
Even if you're out of the game because you get hit in the back, like, the value of a hit by pitch is quite low.
I don't know if I agree with that assessment.
I mean, it's the same value as a single walk. Do you think that the value of a single walk is that high?
Yeah, I do.
What? I mean, it's nice. I'm not saying it's bad, but like,
the value is not making the out.
Okay.
That's the kind of literally the whole sport.
I understand that, but I'm saying, like, in the overall impact of winning a game, one hit by pitch does not change your win probability that much.
I suppose.
Based on the fact that the Mariners released a player, I guess he was traded eventually, who was in top 10 and hit by pitches.
I agree. The point is not that like you should specialize in getting hit by pitches. The point is it's a nice thing to add to other offensive tools.
You've been talking to Brent Smith, haven't you?
Eddie Smith.
Honestly, coming up with Smith was more than you should have expected.
I came up with Eddie earlier. You came up with Smith.
There we go. We put it together.
Well, Peltoncast, we've combined our powers for first and last names like Captain
It's like
Planet.
a UW baseball coach. Honestly, I'm okay with it.
It's true. All right, Seattle Storm start their second half with a 3-game road trip beginning Friday at Atlanta. They've got their last meeting with Caitlin Clark and the Fever and coming up on Sunday, followed by a home set with the lowly Washington, but getting healthy, Washington Mystics. Rachel Galligan reported Tuesday that Gabby Williams has narrowed her WNBA options to 3 teams, but has yet to decide whether she'll play in the league this season. New York and Phoenix, along with the Storm, the other contenders, none of them can actually sign Williams yet under the cap, with the Storm having the ability to bring her in the soonest. They can sign her as of next Tuesday after Kiana Williams' 7-day contract runs its course.
How big of a difference would that signing make?
So third Pelton brother Noah mentioned on the Discord that he wasn't excited about the possibility of Williams taking Jordan Horston's minutes. I do think they'd find room for both of them. Horston would probably play more power forward like we saw last season, including when they briefly had Gabby Williams available between when they were able to sign her midseason and when she was lost with the season-ending injury. She's coming off, she was awesome in the Olympics, as we sort of alluded to in the toast. Was the biggest reason that France was her foot not being on the line away from forcing overtime against USA at home. I think she would certainly be an upgrade over Victoria Vivian's in that kind of role. And, again, if you're taking away some of the backup post minutes and giving those to Jordan Horston, that's an upgrade. I don't think it's like going to be, the Storm or championship favorites or anything like that, but could it make the difference in the battle for home court advantage? I think it's plausible.
All right.
So we will stay tuned on that one. One other bit of Storm news. Neko Gumake is taking over the More Than a Vote nonprofit founded by LeBron James in 2020 ahead of the presidential election with a focus on women's issues and reproductive rights. So very cool to see the president of the Players Association, Neko Gumake, again taking on a key leadership role off the court. I didn't really have anything on UW football. I don't know if you have anything out of fall practice you wanted to discuss.
I mean, it's coming up very soon. We're going to have a lot of home games in a row. I don't know if you've taken a look at that.
Oh, I have taken a look because I've wanted to plan a trip at some point in September, in September, and it is not ideal for that. I guess we're still 2 podcasts away from the UW season preview, but It's not that far.
I'm so ready. I keep hearing complaints like Luca will bring up about like some ranking that has UW low or whatever, and I'm like, we just have to go win games.
They
I don't
were
care.
like 6th in the also receiving votes in the AP poll, which is lower than they were in the coaches poll.
That's fine.
The first team coming off I guess it was a top 2 ranking to not be ranked in the next preseason poll since Army in the 1950s.
I mean, we're in unprecedented times right now.
Indeed, we are. And also the thing is,
Not
like,
just for UW, but like overall.
even if UW hadn't had the coaching change, if Kalen DeBoer was still here, even in a
They
scenario,
probably would be ranked if Kalen, because a lot of those players would still. Jabbar Muhammad would probably still be here.
I mean, is he that much better than Ephesians Prysock?
Oh hell no! Ephesians Prysock's way better than Jabbar Muhammad. Are you
Thank you.
kidding me?
Thank you.
But I'm just saying overall.
I think they probably would be ranked. It's funny because everyone talks about the transfer portal. The transfer portal, like the Huskies added value still via transfer this offseason. Like if you're netting it out, the issue isn't transfers.
Yeah, no, it's
the issue is they had the number 9 pick in the draft. The number 9 pick in the draft. Is that where Penix and Odunze went?
Yeah, I think
Which
that sounds
a
right.
lot of Roma Odunze on Hard Knocks.
It's a lot.
Oh, it's a healthy amount. His mom was mic'd up during the preseason
Oh
game.
yes.
Yeah, you're gonna want to make sure you know. Hard Knocks is very fun. I'm all in. Usually,
Oh, I love the Bears.
Usually, Hard Knocks is like, I'm pretty skeptical of this team after seeing under the hood. But Matt Eberflus with the beard.
Wow, we're loving Flus now.
Oh yeah,
Are you in on Caleb? Is Caleb amazing?
yeah.
I was so in on Caleb last year. Like any skepticism about Caleb Williams, I was just like, I feel like we just watched Zoolander. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills when the USC's defense is giving up 70 points, and they're like, but why did Caleb Williams not score more?
But he cried after the game.
He cried after a game. Why can NBA players cry? Why can college basketball players cry, but not football players cry?
I mean, I think Adam Morrison received a fair bit of shit about crying back in the day. It's a while ago.
It was the mustache. He didn't have a solid one of these babies. He didn't look like Goose at all.
Again, people don't know about this yet. They haven't listened to the After the Pod section.
Still the 3rd pick of the draft. I feel like Adam Morrison went in an appropriate place.
Yeah,
Also,
no,
Caleb Williams was the 1st pick.
He went in a very inappropriate place, Adam Morrison. Very inappropriate place.
But no, the Bears. I really, really all about the Bears right
Like
now.
you understand about Matt Eberflus's glow up, right?
No, what's going on? Is the beard as part of the glow
He
up?
grew a beard. He got a new haircut.
Endless.
He
Okay.
bought a fancy hair dryer, and he looks like an entirely different person and the kind of person that I would run through a wall for.
All right. I got to say the beard's a pretty big upgrade.
It's a huge upgrade. It's a massive upgrade. He started dressing better. Matt Eberflus is definitely like #goals.
I'm gonna throw this out there. Beware of false icons, though, because there are sometimes
I get it. I know.
there have been good-looking coaches before. Cliff Kingsbury, famously.
But Cliff Kingsbury was a little too good looking.
Okay, all right.
Eberflus is like, I'm still taking this seriously.
I love that he's 54 years old. This is glow up. It's like when we're like, Kamala's so young. It's all about comparison.
It sure is.
But
So, anyways,
anyway,
UW
Matt
football-
Eberflus, my favorite thing about Matt Eberflus is that the next coach after this is going to lead the Bears to a Super Bowl win. UW football losing all of those players.
Nick
Though.
Saban was in visiting him, talking to Caleb. The vibes are very good at Bears training camp.
I only care about former NFL coaches
yes.
being in the building, not rigged college coaches. Come on.
Not half as good as Kalen DeBoer. So, anyways, the issue for the Huskies is more that they lost all of their skill position starters
Yes, no,
to the
I
NFL.
agree. Yes. I agree. It was not a transfer portal issue. They didn't do as well in the transfer portal as most teams who finished second in the country. Is that fair?
I think that is fair, but also just like they didn't recruit as well as most teams that finished second in the country, because it turns out it's very out of the ordinary for the Huskies to be one of the top 2 teams in the country, and it was kind of the right place at the right time.
I think that is probably true, that even if you have one, like it takes a really long time.
People think it's more likely to continue happening. Like Auburn was a really good team for a year or two there or whatever.
I mean, Auburn
They actually
recruits
had,
way better than UW does overall. But like for most recruits in the area, there is a pecking order of they're going to want to go to. There's probably 7 other schools who are ahead of them. Auburn has to woo those players. The only issue is that Oregon is so much better of a recruiting school, and so it's not just a regionality thing. It is also about the university overall. And I
that's
think
fine. Oregon can recruit as great as they want. As long as UW wins the games.
I
That's
agree.
What actually matters.
That's what I told Luke. I was like, I don't give a shit about these preseason rankings. Let's go win some games. It does not matter to me at all.
But also, let's have realistic expectations for this season. And if they go 7-6, that'll be a great season.
Any expectations for the season? We're gonna show up each week, and we're gonna cheer on the team, and that's it. Like
We're gonna enjoy the Big Ten.
yeah. So the team can be worse, I suppose, than we expect, but like we're going into it more or less as a blank slate, and whatever the pundits want to say about UW is fine because positive or negative, none of that stuff matters. You have to go play the games. And if UW wins enough games, they're going to be in the playoff. And if UW doesn't win enough games, they won't be. It's not going to be about preseason rankings or something like that. It's going to be about winning the fucking games.
Well, they're not going to be in the playoff.
No, I'm not saying that they are going to be in the playoff, but were they 2 years ago?
In the playoff?
Yeah, I think they might have been.
If it had been an 8 team? Wait, I don't understand your question.
Maybe not.
Would they have been in the top 8 in 2022? I believe so, yes.
Maybe postseason.
I think they were beforehand, too. I don't know. I don't know for sure where they were in the final CFP rankings.
They finished number 8 overall, but that was after beating Texas. Yeah, they were number 13. I don't know about college football playoff-wise. I think they would have been on the outside.
But that ranking is also prior to that game. I guess they were 12 going into the
Texas. So they probably would have missed the playoffs then too. Anyway, whatever. We'll see. A couple weeks. We don't have to think about it for a second.
Well, we do have to think about the Seattle Seahawks, who played a preseason game last Saturday, beating the LA Chargers 16-3 in Mike McDonald's preseason debut as Seahawks head coach. Did you watch any of this game?
I watched a lot of this game.
Did you? That's
Yeah.
unusual for you in the preseason.
I was a little bit intrigued, and it was kind of just on.
There you go.
I think it was partially just like Mike McDonald's first game, wanting to see what this team looked like. At the same time, there's so many impact players on the field who are not playing. I wouldn't take too much from it, but what I would take is that this defense is going to be awesome. Everything we expected to have happened. Offense is going to be just as good as they were last year. Defense is going to be amazing. We're going to the Super Bowl, baby.
Seahawks hot takes. So the defensive starters played the first 2 series.
I'm gonna quote that when you say starters.
So who wasn't out there?
I mean, no, it was most of the traditional starting unit.
Is there a non-traditional starting unit?
Well, I mean, there are players who are injured, right?
Yes.
Jerome Baker's injured, and like that's basically it.
Tyrus Knight played in place of Jerome Baker. Yeah, I mean, the offensive starters not playing is probably a bigger difference than the defensive starters.
Exactly.
But
And that's why we can take exactly what the defense did and then apply really good offense to it. And that's why the team is going to be amazing.
were any of the Chargers starters playing? Obviously, Justin Herbert wasn't.
I really have no idea beyond that.
I mean, it's true. If I think off the top of my head of who are the Chargers starters
Exactly,
I can name,
on
in a
offense,
post
yes.
Keenan Allen, Michael Williams world, the answer is not that many.
It's a fucking preseason game. I wasn't paying that close attention. I was assembling the couch that we talked about.
The Seahawks did not allow a first down in the first 25 minutes of the game. There was 5 3-and-out possessions plus an interception by Kobe Bryant that was set up by a Kayvon Wallace hit. They allowed 66 total yards in the first half.
And I think there were a couple of other balls that could have been intercepted. And the biggest takeaway for me, again, it's the same sort of thing where it's like Chargers offense, probably not at the same place, similar to the Seahawks. I do think this is taking out this game itself. I told you this before when they drafted Byron Murphy. There are just a lot of good players on that defensive line. And they're also, I think we might have a massive recall in year. Like, I think this might be the bounce back Rick Woolen year. Something, maybe he was injured, his relationship with Pete Carroll, I don't know. Something went sour with Rick Woolen. And I do think Devin Witherspoon and Rick Woolen as the two corners with this pass rush, like, linebackers be damned. They have good players at the two most important positions to have good players at. And if you were to build a defense, you would say we want really good D-line and we want a really good secondary. And right now, the Seahawks seem like they have both of those things. And also, you would say you want a really deep D-line. So if Byron Murphy doesn't need to be an every down type of player, and you just go through the list of people on that defensive line, you're like, it's pretty excellent right now. And they looked it on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, the interior is a little less deep depending on how much Dre Jones is going to play there as opposed to on the edge. But then if he plays on the edge, that group is considerably deeper. So, yeah.
I don't know if I agree with that at all. As far as like 3-tech type players, there's still Leonard Williams, Byron Murphy, Dre Jones.
Well, I just said if he doesn't play that much inside, that was the point. You can't then list him.
I guess so. You're like, those are going to be the players who are going to play there.
I mean, I'm not saying it's inadequate or anything. I'm just saying it changes the math a little bit. So.
You saw none of this game.
Zero, and forgot to tape it, so I was not able to rewatch it, as I typically do with preseason games. Sam Howell played quarterback through the opening drive of the third quarter. He completed 16 of 27 passes, but for just 4.8 yards per attempt, took a pair of sacks. P.J. Walker finished the game, went 4 of 10 for 60 yards. Did you have any thoughts on the quarterbacks?
I wasn't paying close enough attention, to be honest, to really have any thoughts, but I don't think Sam Howell looked particularly sharp in this one. If I was nervous about anything about the Seahawks team, it would not be the defense. They just have so many returning skill position players who are good, who we know are good. And Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, Geno Smith didn't play in this game.
I don't know that we do know for sure that Tyler Lockett at this age is good. Like, if you're telling me to construct a downside scenario for the Seahawks, besides for Geno Smith inavailability,
yeah,
it probably relates to Tyler Lockett. You know,
I think they have enough players to
hits an age-related cliff, and Jackson Smith and Jigba is not yet ready to step up into that number 2 role.
That would be a pretty negative way to view it, but
I mean, that's why I said it's a worst-case scenario.
To me, it was kind of like Ryan Grubb understanding what is going to work at this level, and I think there's probably still some kinks to work out.
That makes sense. Jake Bobo was pretty effusive in his praise of Ryan Grubb. He was on the Seahawks Man to Man podcast last week, so that was fun to hear.
Nice.
Also, he sounds a little like Glenn Powell to me.
Jake Bobo?
Yeah.
Have you watched Twisters?
I have not yet watched Twisters or Twister.
You've never seen either?
I've had a lot more time to watch Twister than Twisters.
I've seen them both within the last month.
But have I seen Hitman? You're damned right I have.
Top notch. First off, I fucking love Glenn Powell. Second off,
who doesn't? This is a Glenn Powell podcast.
It's funny to me. Sometimes I think about this with artists, right? And like talking to artists, and I'm like, it takes a long time for somebody to break. And it's like, how did it take this long for Glenn Powell to become a famous actor? Because you see Glenn Powell and you're like, yeah, he's famous.
He's a movie star.
Yeah, you're like, that's a movie star.
I mean,
but I remember watching Top Gun, and I didn't really even know who Glenn Powell was.
Wow, you weren't in it on. I mean, I watched Everybody Wants Some. I don't remember him in that movie, to be honest.
It's on my list of movies to watch.
It should be. The Big Picture podcast is big fans. But
it's the spiritual sequel to Dazed and Confused,
I'm aware.
and I've never seen it. How did that happen?
That's a great question.
Somebody let me down. I'm not taking responsibility for this one.
But he was very good and set it up. So that's where I jumped on board the Glenn Powell bandwagon. And as soon as it's a romantic comedy on Netflix starring him and Zoe Deutsch.
But that's not like a huge movie.
It's not a huge movie, but it was definitely a cult movie. And there it was like, oh yeah, this guy's obviously a star. And he's cast in Top Gun Maverick. Like, yeah. The strange thing is that like his next big movie after Maverick was so much later, especially because that finished tape filming in like 2019. So,
I mean, Glenn Powell in Twisters is like,
maybe the pandemic is to blame.
He doesn't have a mustache in it, but if he did, it would be a reason I have a mustache right now. Like,
again, this is all referencing some conversation you've not yet heard. At some point, we need to stop recording these before the podcast and actually record them after. Back to the Seahawks.
I'm going to say Glenn Powell might be the best looking human being of all time.
Of all time. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm ready to go that far, but I understand what you're saying. Kenny McIntosh got extended action at running back, had 8 carries for 40 yards. Undrafted free agent George Halani had 6 carries for 25 yards with the team's lone rushing touchdown. Per Bob Condotta, he worked with the first team alongside Kenneth Walker III in practice on Wednesday in Tennessee, with McIntosh alongside the second team in the absence of Zach Charbonnet, who missed practice. Kobe Lewis also came in and got a team-high 10 carries for 33 yards. Derek Young had a team-high 44 receiving yards on 3 catches, continuing to bode well for his chances of being the 5th receiver. Tight end Brady Russell came up with the game's lone receiving touchdown as he battles for a spot. And then Laviska Shenault Jr., who I think has an excellent chance to make it, 2 catches for 31 yards as a receiver and a 44-yard kickoff return. Did you have any thoughts on the new kickoff format?
It's very confusing for me right now.
Okay.
But there's definitely going to be more kick returns and
Way
big kick
more.
returns. I don't know. Is that what we want?
I think that's what the NFL wants.
Why? Because it's
These are an exciting play.
okay. That's fine.
And then they're trying to do it safely.
I'm fine with that if that is what we want.
And also, it's like better field position, which ultimately means more points, which the NFL likes as well.
Okay. I'll take it. The onside kick format, how is that changing?
You have to declare it. You can only do it in the fourth quarter when you're trailing.
Okay. But you can set up like more players on one side now to make it more likely.
I don't believe so, no.
So then why do you have to declare it?
Because the kickoffs are totally like the
location of the kickoffs are like totally different.
because the players are standing
Yeah.
like way downfield.
Okay.
The Seahawks are holding joint practices in Tennessee this week with the Titans ahead of their preseason game on Saturday, a reunion with Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs.
Cool.
So,
Just a strange team to have ended up having joint practices with.
I mean, I think it's a sensible one. You know, the only chance of you playing the Titans is in the Super Bowl.
No, I understand that, but there's just kind of a lot of baggage with that team right now.
It is an
what I'm
unusual
saying.
amount. Yes, I agree with that.
They're probably the team that has the most baggage of anybody in the league, probably even including the Steelers at this point.
No, I still think it would be the Steelers.
Because of Russ, or
Yeah.
I feel like
I mean, no, because of Super Bowl 40.
for certain
The whole
sectors,
day
Seahawks
crunch.
fans, some of us are still mad about it. Okay.
Hey, did you know that Jerome Bettis is from Detroit and the game was played
God.
in Detroit?
I think the fact that the second Russ was released by the Broncos, the whole thing was let go of.
All right. I don't know if it's let go of.
It was
but,
the same as
I
like
do
when,
agree that it
when
changes
A-Rod
the
left
tone.
the Rangers. It was like I'm the only person in all of Seattle who's pro A-Rod, right?
25% Seattle Sports Star of the Year.
The thing is, I wasn't a Mariners fan when he signed with the Rangers, so
True, you aren't upset at that at all.
I have no feelings at all. But to me, like he's on the Steelers now. Like we're all cheering for Russ now. I think a lot of people were cheering for us last year. Year one, I get it. It was kind of we had their draft pick. There were we were incentivized.
Devin Witherspoon was at stake.
Yeah, we were
didn't know it, but he was.
incentivized to cheer against the Broncos for a year and against Russ for a year. But now it's kind of like we can all move on. He's in the AFC. I hope he wins the
Pete
job.
Carroll,
I hope he plays great.
Pete Carroll also isn't here. anymore,
Exactly.
But I still think there's a lot of baggage.
I don't know if there is.
But
There are some players. There are a lot of players. A lot of the roster didn't even overlap with Russ.
I'm aware. Again, Russell Wilson is a quarterback. Quarterbacks get a disproportionate amount of attention.
I think Jamal Adams has created a lot of baggage for himself with this roster.
I don't disagree with that. The Connor Williams signing became official on, I believe that was Monday, and the Seahawks traded center Nick Harris back to the Browns with a 2026 7th-round pick for a 2026 6th-rounder. They ate his $1 million signing bonus, but a possibility that they were going to have to eat that anyway if they decided to keep Oluwatimi as the backup to Connor Williams at center, given kind of his long-term potential here. All things considered, even if you factor in the 1 million, like we talked about the comp pick possibility with Connor Williams. Now add a million, and they moved up from the 7th round to the 6th round. Like, could be a pretty great signing all around with Connor Williams.
I just also think Connor Williams might be a good player.
That's the hope.
A very good player.
More details on his contract per my ESPN colleague Brady Henderson. It's a $1.75 million signing bonus, $1.23 million base, $510,000 in per game roster bonuses, and then $2.5 million in incentives tied to playing time and team performance. Williams met the media in Seattle on Monday, said he's 95% of the way back in his comeback. Mike McDonald said the plan is for Williams to play week 1.
All right.
So there we go. He's not yet practicing this week, though. All right, well, the Seahawks will be 2/3 of the way done with their preseason by the time we next record.
It kind of goes fast now. It felt like it dragged on forever, but when that one extra game is really the difference between it feeling like it drags on forever and going relatively fast.
I agree. On that note,
Thanks for listening.
thanks. So you're just rocking a mustache now? Did you watch Top Gun Maverick recently? Is that what inspired
That's
this?
actually exactly. I was on. It wasn't Top Gun Maverick. I wanted to grow a mustache, not grow a mustache, shave my beard into a mustache, because being in Nashville, everybody has a mustache, and you're just like, man, everybody looks like real men over there in Nashville.
Was Robert Mays an inspiration at all?
Does he have a stash?
He does.
But I showed. I've been on calls this week, and like last weekend, I went and met with Brent. I had like a lunch meeting or whatever on Friday. I'd shaved in the mustache the night before. Did not say a word about it.
Wow.
And I was just like, we're just gonna go this whole meeting without acknowledging it. He had a ponytail though, so it was like, but I mentioned his ponytail.
Everyone was doing something.
Everybody was avoiding something. But then, so like every call that I'm on, I'm like, I need people to know that I have a mustache now because I want them to be warned partially. Most people have just been like, oh, it's actually the most annoying thing. And it shows how little people pay attention to other people unless you're in middle school. Because if you're in middle school, every minor change to your personality gets critiqued and insulted. But in the real world, like most people are just like, oh, I thought you always had a mustache. And I'm like, I have gone 39 years without a mustache. It was like when I got glasses and somebody was like, you haven't always had glasses? And I'm like, first off, I don't appreciate that you think that I'm giving off glasses energy. I think I do. Oh, you're going to say that glasses energy isn't a thing?
Well, no, I'm not going to dispute that it's a thing.
Look, we know you've had glasses since we were young. We know that because of everything about you. But
look, I don't know if you're aware. Steven Netterosik happened. Glasses are cool. Is it 2 consecutive weeks I've said this on the podcast?
Who happened?
Steven Netterosik.
Oh, is this
Pommel horse guy.
Oh my God, you're back to the fucking pommel horse thing. Anyway,
Never not going to be on pommel horse thing.
I was on a phone call with Sarah on Monday. I was like, we have to do like video on for the FaceTime instead of audio. And she was like, you look like Goose. And I was just like, hell yeah, I'm in.
Well, if anyone should recognize it, it would be her. Yes.
Yeah, of course.
So, shouts to Top Gun Maverick.
This is Top Gun.
You're not going, okay.
This is Goose.
This is not Miles Teller. This is Anthony Edwards.
No. Does Miles Teller have a mustache?
I'm pretty sure he does a mustache as an homage, doesn't he? Am I misremembering this?
Miles Teller.
Has it been that long?
Top Gun Maverick. Oh, yeah, no, he does.
Yeah, okay.
Well, in honor of his dad,
Obviously,
right?
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
yes,
so it's like
would
kind of
still
part of
be-
the lineage.
Yes, fair.
I gotta say the light mustache, right? Because they both have it. Goose has it, and then what is his call sign?
Rooster.
Rooster. Goose and Rooster both have the light mustache.
Correct. Is you.
It's not like red. Like Dad's mustache was red.
Full on red.
This is just like light brown. So
Mom did say the other day that you looked like Dad. So maybe, I don't know if she had seen the mustache yet.
was Goose from Top Gun Maverick our father? It's pretty Goose-like though. Don't you agree with that?
I do agree with that. I mean, his is a little fuller. I feel like the style has shrunk a little bit over time.
It's funny in Nashville, I feel like people just have like the prickliest mustaches. But you have to have one.
Wow. Guess that's why I don't live in Nashville.
Among many reasons, you would never get by in Nashville. You'd be sweaty all the time, is what I'm trying to say. The humidity is so high. It gets up to 100% humidity. Can you imagine that?
No, I've already talked about the Seahawks practicing and said humidity by the time you listen to this.
Did they really?
They did.
I mean, I knew that they did, but anyway, yeah, okay. I'm going to say goose and rooster. Those are my inspirations. However, so I went to Lowe's yesterday, and there's a photo where it's like, take a picture with Leo Messi. And I thought that was really funny, but I don't really look like Leo Messi at all anymore.
You've really steered out of it. You've steered away.
Which I think is good, actually. $25 voucher from Alaska. Are you kidding me? Which is like, literally you have a flight planned, Seattle to New York, and it's just like, oh, a $25 flight credit. Dog, are you tripping, Alaska? Your plans would have to be pretty fucking flexible to take a $25 flight credit.
I agree. I can't say I ever have. I don't get upset at the email.
But no, I think it's kind of offensive. It's offensive for Alaska to insinuate that my plans could be so flexible that I would be willing to change them for a $25 flight credit. They shouldn't send them. If I worked at Alaska, I'd be like $100 minimum.
But you got to start low.
How many people do you think? I would love to see.
It's like a Daryl Morey trade strategy. If you don't throw out 1,000 trades, no one's ever going to say yes to them.
No, I'm offended by it. I'm now turned. They could offer $1 million, and because of them starting at 25, they'd be like $1 billion to not do this flight.
You're such a bad negotiator. I hope you don't do that professionally.
We're gonna do this podcast.